So hey guys, let's start with the today lead code daily problem. And the problem says that we have been given a number of subarrays. Like we have to find out the number of subarrays with the odd sums. So the question is pretty straightforward, and I don't think so. It requires a bit of explanation. You can just go over this example and just figure out yourself. So just the one thing to remind you is that we need to ensure that the answer can be very large, and we have to return the modulo. That is, if the answer is very large, then we should ensure that we do the modulo operation and then return it. So yeah, let's deep dive into the solution. So I'm just going to directly say you that we are going to use something called a prefix sum, and I think so. If you're comfortable with this prefix sum and if you have an idea, you can just continue. Or it's pretty straightforward. We do nothing fancy. So for simplicity, let's say that we have couple of elements a1, a2, a3, and a4. So what does a prefix does? It does the cumulative sum of all the integer values till particular index. Let's say that at particular index a4, I arrived and I found that the prefix sum was this was odd. Now, what would happen if this is odd? That means that let's say that there. So my point is that let's say that if we have arrived at this point and the prefix is odd, then we can you see that if there exists, let's say that eight, this there was another prefix with some even value, and this was still here, prefix a2. Now, what do you think? If we subtract this prefix with this prefix, what value we will get? What I'm saying again, I will repeat. So we did a prefix sum. We arrived at a4 and we found that the prefix total sum was it resulted into some odd values. And I had some earlier prefix and I calculated that an a1 a2 and this is again some even value. So what do you think? If we subtract both these prefix, we'll get a3 a4. And what is E3, E4? This is another subarray. So eventually what I'm saying over here is that if we want to find those subarrays, what we are eventually doing is that we can just use the prefix concept. We can just store the count of the number of time the prefix even has occurred and just add it to the answer. So let's take a more better example, right? Let's say that in a given let's make a larger array. I'm not going to take some actual value like a1, a2, a3, a4 and a5. Now let's say here यहाँ पे I encountered a prefix even. यहाँ पे I encountered a prefix even, and I'm at the ith one, and this is some prefix till this point is some odd value. So what will happen eventually is that what do you think? What is will be the total subarrays with some with the odd one? Obviously it will be a2 a5, and this will be another prefix of this value, right? So eventually if we what my thought process is that if we have stored the count of prefix even, then if we subtract it sorry, not subtract it, if we add it to the answer, we will get the number of subarrays which are going to be odd one. Now we are going to apply the same logic for the even one as well. So what do you think? Let's say that we arrived at some one again. Now in this given scenario, we arrived at a4, and the total prefix sum is some even value. So what do you think? If for some reason I have to calculate the number of subarrays with the odd sum, what will eventually happen is that we just need to account for the like the number of times the prefix odd has occurred. So let's say that at 8 one odd has occurred, prefix odd has occurred at a1, and at some a3 prefix odd has occurred. So eventually, and again, what is this prefix odd? I mean, this is the cumulative sum till this point. This is the cumulative sum till this point, right? So that is what I'm going to say over here. So eventually, if we have figured out this and we have stored the count in some variable called odd, let's say. So the total number of subarrays with the number of subarrays with the odd sum will be nothing but the count of the number of times this prefix odd has occurred. So eventually, if you look at this, it will be like we are just calculating the this. I think so. There are a lot of problems which we have faced in lead code, and they work on the similar style. I will upload a following video to make you understand more better. So yeah, eventually we if we at every point if we store this prefix odd and prefix even count at some variable, and if we do the subtract if we do addition to the total count, we are just going to get the answer. So that's all about it. Just one thing you need to remember is that let's say for there is a corner cases you need to take care of. So let's say that there is a single integer element, there is a single integer one, and that's all in the array. And let's say that this is an odd one, right? So right now, if you can see that your count will say that how will your count get updated, because we have not encountered any prefix even, so nothing has occurred before it. But that's how you need to take care, because one is also because one is some odd, it's an odd value, but what we need to account here is that some the prefix even should be what, one, because we cannot begin with zero. So eventually, if the value is odd, what will happen is that I will just store the count as count is equal to prefix even. So that will make the this will handle this edge case. Now this is not an edge case, but you just need to be very aware because and it actually makes sense also because prefix even, if you think initially my sum is zero, right? It I mean the total sum, not the this one. The total sum is zero, and zero is what, a prefix of it's an even integer. So that means the prefix even cannot be zero; it has to be one, and that's why we need to do this. And let's go to the code. So the code here is very simple. We just declare an int mod. We just maintain a count. This we have to return at the end. And the next thing is that we are going to store the cumulative sum. And as I told you that we are maintaining two integers separately, int our odd count and even count. So okay, I think so. I'm not. This is fine. So this is an even count, and what I'm doing is that I'm just iterating over, and I'm just storing the cumulative sum. If the sum is like an even, so as I told you, we just have to add the odd number of times and the prefix odd has occurred. And also remember that since the we have encountered an even prefix, we have to update our even count. Now same thing is going to occur for the odd one as well. Now in the odd one, we have to account for the even count, and eventually the what this means is that the prefix odd value has to increase, and the prefix odd value has to increase by one. So that's all, guys. I hope you like the video. Let me know if you have any questions. I will try to find some time and reply back on the comment section. So thanks.